data there. And that's first and foremost the big challenge. Regardless of what SIEM you use, getting the data there and being familiar with what data you're collecting is of utmost priority. And then last but not least, we have cloud services. If your company uses Amazon, Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, or even third-party SaaS software products like Office 365 or Google Business and many other providers, those platforms, again, generate their own logs that can be consumed for security operations awareness. So we've already talked a lot about a SIEM, and this slide's repeating a lot of things I may have already mentioned. So we'll just talk about some of the core features that are in a SIEM that you might want to look for. First and foremost, they're going to be used for log collection, and they can do log collection via a push or pull model. A push model is where the log source, the system that is creating the log, actually forwards that log on its own to the SIEM. I'm going to push data to the SIEM. The pull model is where the SIEM has a service or capability to reach out and read a file share or read data from an API, an application programming interface, or query data from another system and bring back those results and ingest it into its local database. Last but not least, we have manual ingestion. So a user can log into the SIEM, they can have evidence that they gathered through whatever technique they were using, and they can manually load it into the SIEM for analysis. A good SIEM is going to have a user interface where we can query and review and analyze log records. This is where we can assess the quality of our data, compare it and contrast it to other data sources, ensure our timelines are accurate across our data sources, and anything we need to do to assess and build our analytic processes. One of the key benefits of a SIEM is being able to create custom dashboards. So this is where we can take our business use cases and what we want to know about what's going on in our network, and we can set up our own custom dashboards to visualize the data that's most relevant to us. That's very, very important, as most SOCs are spending a lot of time monitoring what's going on and responding to deviations from that expected baseline. So having the ability to create your own custom dashboards is very empowering to be able to monitor the data points that are most important. You're looking for a SIEM that supports a lot of analytics that come out of the box. Again, those need to be tuned, but a SIEM that does no analytics for once versus one that does, right, we see the inherent value there. It does a lot of work for us to help us trim the fat. It assesses our logs, looks at correlations. It might use machine learning or AI or something more advanced to assess what's going on and find patterns that, we as humans mentally cannot remember, the last 2,000 logs we looked at. So those types of modeling techniques really provide a lot of value in being able to identify trends or behaviors in our data that we couldn't detect. At the end of the day, you want to find the best solution that's going to provide the most value, and ones that do a lot of automation and analytics, of course, are high on that list. But you also have to remember you have to tune them. We can't just turn it on and set it and forget it. That is the telltale sign of a reactionary security team. They buy a lot of good tools, they turn them on, and they basically go back to just sitting there staring at the dashboard. Right? We've got to be proactive. So being proactive, we want to be able to create custom alerts and triggers. We want to go above and beyond the security and tools and analytics and automation that the SIEM provides. We want to be able to provide our own inputs, our own heuristics, our own triggers, our own alerts for things we're interested in, the things we're tracking, the things we're researching. This is how you truly find new next level advanced adversaries getting into your network. And I'm not going to sit here and say that every network has, APTs and like 0-day exploits happening in their network. Most of the time we're dealing with users clicking on links and downloading potentially unwanted software such as like pop-ups and and browser toolbars and things of that nature. So we're going to deal with a lot of common problems, but we need to be able to go above and beyond that when the need arises. We need to be able to look into our systems and identify what's going on, and the ability to create custom alerts and triggers is key to that ability. And we want to ensure our SIEM supports integration with other reporting and ticketing systems, and I'll further expand on that. We want to make sure that it can acquire data from other systems via API, right? We want to be able to integrate that SIEM into our existing tools and ticketing systems. And security operations regularly use third-party ticketing systems where they track investigations, they create open tickets, they assign users to tickets, and that's how they do that optimization, monitoring when a ticket was opened, when the user was added to it, or the analyst, when the analyst updated the ticket, when the analyst closed the ticket, and we monitor those times of opening, modification, and closing tickets to sort of assess the effectiveness of our security team. So just as we had antivirus sort of morph into more advanced next generation antivirus with machine learning and all those extra modeling capabilities, we have the SIEM that we just talked about, and then now we're having the newer trend, which is referred to as SOAR. And again, you can have a SIEM solution and a SOAR solution that's third party, but again, many vendors now are providing SIEMs that have SOAR capabilities baked into it. And SOAR stands for Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. So SOAR is a capability that allows us to automate a lot of our workflows. And the main component of SOAR is that it's highly integrated with our existing tools. So going back a few slides, if we recall, we talked about the different log sources, network, endpoint. We could be dealing with different endpoint providers, different network security solutions, all the different log formats. There's a lot of different data. There's lots of systems. So a SOAR platform can actually integrate and communicate to a lot of those systems. SOAR platforms can talk to your firewall. And the value here is if you know that if a certain event occurs, you would normally create a firewall log manually to block that traffic. You can actually create a playbook in a SOAR platform that says, if this event occurs, I want you to use this blocking policy playbook where the SOAR platform will actually log into your firewall and set a rule automatically for you to block that traffic. So that's the power of SOAR. SOAR can automate what we do as humans to optimize how we respond to events. So we can reduce that dwell time from detection to containment and to removal or remediation in the network. So we want to get from detection to remediation as fast as we can, and SOAR has been a huge benefit to the industry in supporting that effort. So some of the common things SOAR can help us with is doing data enrichment. So as logs are coming in, depending on what log type it is, the SOAR platform could have triggers and playbooks that do threat intelligence lookups, that do those DNS correlations. They can integrate with our ticketing and tasking systems, and they can even do low stage triage and investigatory functions. So if we get an alert that a workstation potentially downloaded malware, the SOAR platform can actually interrogate our EDR system and say, hey, did we see a process execution at this time from this IP address? Or is there a new file that executed that we are unaware of, right? So the SOAR platform can go query that data and bring it back to us. So before a human even looks at it and they open up this alert, they already have corroborated information from the endpoint. They already have the network information. They're already getting a lot of value out of this brought to the surface, but it still requires human involvement. We as people still need to be involved in analyzing a lot of this data and making a final decision on how we respond to it. But the more we work with automation, the more we figure out what it's good at and what it's not good at for our organization, the more we can rely on it to do what it does best, and that is work quickly at computer speed. We as humans cannot respond that fast, so let's use automation where it's good and leave humans up to what we're good at, making contextual decisions based on complex patterns and understanding and correlating that with the understanding of how our network operates and what our business goals are. It's really hard to train computers to correlate how do I block an event while understanding the context of the value of our business or how our business makes money. So that's why people still need to be in that process to make those decisions. But at the end of the day, SOAR is going to provide a lot of value as long as we've configured it to do so. Again, this is another platform that requires a lot of involvement to make sure it's running right and to keep it running that way. So as I said earlier, you can get a SIEM solution that has SOAR capabilities in it. You can get SOAR as a standalone. Splunk, as we talked about previously, acquired a large SOAR provider, and now when you acquire Splunk, if you buy the security license, you get SOAR solutions baked right in. So that's really, really valuable for organizations that are already using Splunk and have a lot of data there. They can now upgrade the license and get the benefits of SOAR right with the data they already have. So the downside that is just going to be typical with any system like this is the engineering time, the setup and configuration that's needed to get all of this working. SIEMs are great for collection and collation of logs and standardization of formats. SOAR is great for automation and scaling out our response activities. But again, they're only going to be as effective as how much time we put into setting them up and then continuing to maintain them. The downside is a lot of SOAR playbooks have been created that go stale. We hire a great analyst that works in the company. They did a lot of great work building our custom playbooks. They took some of the default playbooks and tuned them to our environment to make them that much better. But then that individual, they got a job offer, they went somewhere else. So now we have this issue where we have to train somebody else how to build the playbooks. They don't understand why this user set these playbooks up this way. So although these playbooks and stuff are really fantastic, we still have to keep our eye on them to keep them up to date. We still need to be doing our network baselining. We still need to evaluate the integrity and quality and confidence of our data. And we can rely on these playbooks once we've done those things. But again, that challenge is if that person leaves and they're the ones doing all that work, we've taken a pretty substantial hit to the security operations team because we now have to get knowledgeable on all the data that's going into these playbooks and analytics and making sure that they're doing it right. I've unfortunately been to a lot of organizations where they had scripts or commands that they would run, and we would ask, why are you running this command? Well, there was a guy who worked here a couple of years ago. Whenever this happened, he would just run this command, and if we got this result in the query, we would just do this. And they just simply didn't realize that their network had changed so much that they were only seeing a small portion of the puzzle, and they weren't really effectively cleaning up the situation. And of course, that's why they had a lot of bad things happen. So playbooks are great, but we got to keep them up to date. So in summary, security operations is not this well-defined, put it in a box, wrap it with a bow concept. It's a balance of budget, business need, risk acceptance, avoidance, transference, all those concepts, and bringing that all together to say, what should we monitor? What log types? Where's the data? What tools do we need? And how do we get that data to a point where we can analyze it and respond to it? If we even want to do that, maybe we want to hire a managed detection and response company to do that. Maybe that's the answer. But at the end of the day, it's an amalgamation of tools, logs, data flows, systems, analytics, and automation to get security operations to be security operations. And that's going to look different in any organization you go to. And with that being said, the more tools and data sources we acquire, the more complex our security system is, the more effort goes into maintaining that system. So you could look at it sort of like this. If we didn't have a SIEM, if we don't have automation, and we have some logs, we're spending a whole lot of our time doing a lot of forensic triage, analysis, collecting data. We're working with siloed data sets, and we're really busy, and we can't really do a lot. We can't do a lot of additional work. We don't have a lot of overhead for other strategic security issues. We're constantly playing whack-a-mole with these low-level alerts and collecting data and responding to them. So we're really busy. Now, we get more tools, more automation, more capabilities, and we're just as busy, but now we're maintaining these systems. We're making sure the playbooks are running appropriately. We're responding to alerts on the systems, and we're always ensuring our data is up to date. So we're not really switching the amount of workload. We're not replacing humans. We're just moving us more to the decision side of things, right? Let's use tools and automation to collect, collate, and correlate our data, and let's spend our times analyzing those results and figuring out what we want to do about it. And a lot of the time what we do about it is optimize those systems even more. We adjust, we tune, we create new alerts and triggers. We research new threats and adversaries, and we ensure that our network can defend ourselves against those new tools and techniques. So we're not saying our lives are going to be easier. We're just making sure humans are doing what they're good at and working on the harder big brain issues instead of having to just work at cleaning up logs and collecting data, which is a very mundane and time consuming task.